Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Dr. Cammy and Karen Go Keto, where we are working on transitioning from the standard American diet, which we call the standard atrocious diet. Is that what it was called?
Hmm.
To ketogenic eating. And we're working on carnivore lifestyle right now and to being healthy and taking good care of ourselves. And so today we are going to have a little bit of a casual recording, and we're going to start with Karen's funny story. Karen's, is it a story or a joke?
Okay, no, it's two funny stories,
Two
and
funny
and and I
stories.
wanted to tell them to Cami outside of video recording, but she said, "Well, let's record because we've been talking. We need to get something filmed." So I will have Cami tie them into Carnivore and whatever's going on in her life.
You said you were going to tie him in.
I will. I can tie them in briefly, and this is or easily, and that is what we put in our mouths. Okay, so.
Okay.
So the story starts. I went to breakfast one day at brunch at a very lovely place outside of the city limits of Chicago, or maybe we were in the west side of the city. It was a very good brunch place, and it was very cute. One of those places that only has like 10 tables in it, very quaint. And this was long, long ago. This is decades ago. And was an iced tea drinker at the time, and at the time I drank sugar in my iced tea. And if anybody drinks sugar in their iced tea, they know that iced tea is cold, and when you put sugar in it, all the sugar crystals go to the bottom. They don't really dissolve, so you end up putting maybe more sugar in. It's one of the reasons why some people just use the sweetener because it just sweetens your tea that much faster. Because otherwise, you have to. But really classy places give you little, little simple syrup sugar in a little container. And we were at this restaurant and I noticed that they had that. And I had been to one other restaurant in Chicago and one in Vegas that did that. This one outside was, I think it was called Champs. Anyway, they'd give you like simple sugar. So it's just a little tiny glass or sometimes like a little mug or something. And I was so excited that I got that and I drank it and I put it down because I wanted to see how sweet it was before I put it in my iced tea. And I put it down and my friend says, "What?" And I said, it's not sugar. And I look around and it's like, it's just water for the flowers, but we didn't get any flowers.
Gosh,
So
flower water.
fast forward a few years and I'm at a conference and they have all these freebies. When you go to an expo and they have free pens and free coasters and free mouse pads and free whatever. And one of the places had free breath spray, which I thought was really good because, you go to these conferences and your breath is, you eat food and you don't brush your teeth and then you're talking to people. And so I got this free breath spray and I pumped it into my mouth and it was Purell.
No way. How did you,
It was sanitizer because it just had the company's name on it. The way I mistaked it is I sprayed it in my mouth and it didn't taste like breath spray. It tasted like hand sanitizer.
and you thought it was breath spray?
Yes. And so I texted my friend and I said, I have not learned, or maybe I have. So that tells us about learning lessons about putting things in your mouth that don't belong there.
All right. So I know how I could think about tying this into like carnivore, because one of the things that you can do is I could have like a little spray of Purell. And then every time I want to eat something that's not carnivore, I could just spray my mouth with it and it would just be Purell.
That would definitely put you off of eating anything for a while.
No, I really don't. I don't think I want to do that, but sometimes
We
I
know
feel
this
like I
for a
do.
fact because I just blew something up and I had to clean the little blow up inflatable piece before I put it in my mouth and I rubbed it with Purell and I believe now I've been poisoned because it really tastes bad in my mouth.
Show us a piece that you blew up. This is from her husband Tim's toy
This is
collection.
something that Tim had and I didn't really know what it was. He always loved promo things. So it says the big sound of Audio
Audio.
Technica. And he liked his audio equipment. And this is an interesting piece and I didn't know. I mean, I could read the words with it not blown up, but I knew it had some interesting, like I knew these little shapes here wanted to be filled with air. And this thing, I didn't know that that was going to blow up. So that's kind of cute.
Yeah, so that kind of where you plug it in. So
Yeah.
anyway, we've been having lots of fun this morning. And one of the things I did want to mention, Karen, was what you talked about, the two mantras for carnivore, right?
Right.
And one of them I got kind of, which I said, there's two mantras: eat fatty meat until you're full. And I said, eat fatty meat. So I only got half of one: eat fatty meat until you're full. And then the other one is beef, bacon, eggs.
Yeah. So Dr. Ken Berry is the one who really hits home with, I think he's the one who started that and everybody has followed where he just has beef, bacon, butter, eggs. That's your carnivore staples. And Dr. Kiltz is the one that I hear, and I know Carrie Mann. I think Carrie Mann kind of echoes what Dr. Kiltz says. I don't think it started with Carrie Mann. Carrie Mann from Homestead How, Healing Humanity. And Dr. Kiltz is eat fatty meat until you're full. Sean Baker says that, and so does Dr. Anthony Chafee. So really, you just can't go wrong, right? Your fatty meats are your ribeye, your pork belly, not so much your filet, but if you're going to eat a filet over a ribeye, then you add some extra fat to it, some external fat, not liquid fat, because the rendered fat is going to give some digestive, possibly diarrhea. Just remember, if anybody wants to transition to, especially to a carnivore lifestyle, all the top influencers on YouTube, doctors or laymen, will say, do not transition cold turkey. For those who do transition cold turkey to carnivore, a lot of them suffer from explosive diarrhea. That's the biggest concern. So if you go from keto to carnivore, it's a little slower process. And so your gut biome has a little time to adjust. Otherwise, especially if you're going from a very standard American diet, your gut biome is just getting a blast of something it's never known before. And so it's the change in your gut biome that causes that explosive diarrhea. And having experienced it on a number of occasions, I highly recommend you don't experience it. I'd like to say, live vicariously through me and my explosive diarrhea experience.
Well, and I remember at the beginning when I was trying to go carnivore, and anytime I would get that MCT oil into my system, even if it was just a small amount, that I would have some diarrhea after that, shortly after that. And
Yeah.
now I know I'm better with that because I do use it. I use it when I'm eating something that maybe doesn't have enough fat in it. Like I'll have steak and eggs, and there'll be quite a bit of eggs in there, although the yolks have fat, right? But I'll feel like I need a little bit more fat in my meal, so I'll squirt a little bit of that MCT oil on it. So yeah, but at the beginning, it does take adjustments, and I think all of us go through that, right? That's why sometimes I'll even have steak and eggs right now, and I'll put, like, I have a little bit of onion and tomato in my eggs right now in my fridge, but that's not necessarily to avoid diarrhea. That's because I'm eating things that aren't carnivore.
Well, when I was doing my chorizo skillet, I was doing pats of butter on it to add more fat to it, but the butter would melt, and so that's your liquid. And I think that that was really the main cause of that. Not 100% sure, but that's my guess.
All right, so there you go. We're talking carnivore. We're talking mantras. Eat fatty meat until you're full. Beef,
Beef,
bacon,
bacon,
butter,
butter, eggs.
eggs, and avoid your explosive diarrhea as best as you can
All right,
initially.
think about Healing Humanity June 28th. Hey, let's do a whole video on what's coming up for metabolic health.
And for the carnivore community. That sounds
Yeah.
good. Stay tuned.
Bye everybody.
Bye.